I am sure we have all seen high school rom-coms that open with this beautiful young girl laying in a flower field and the sun is glistening on her skin and she is halfway through a love story. Then we go and we try this, and it's this aesthetic moment where we feel like the main character for about 5 minutes. And then you start to realize that ants are crawling up your arms, clouds begin to cover the sky, and you can no longer enjoy your book due to the sound of screaming children playing 30 feet away from you. Now, with that being said, the process of taking something as simple as reading and making it more glamorous than it truly is the process of romanticization. And what I want to share with you today is the romanticization of high school, but more specifically, the romanticization of hardships faced in high school. You see, romanticization is this idea of seeing or thinking about things in a way that feels more glamorous or thrilling than it truly is. I have seen this happen so often in both my life as well as many others in my school and community. For example, me and my friends like to plan study dates. You know, we'll sit in a cute cafe, we'll drink coffee, we'll study, which is actually code for we'll sit there and yap for 3 hours, but it is still our way of romanticizing studying to make our high school experience slightly more bearable or exciting even. Now, I could probably show you 50 different YouTube videos about romanticizing school and life, and I notice how they all emphasize this idea around creating an altered perception of reality, where we shape our experiences in a way that is more favorable to ourselves. But I believe that this can create unrealistic expectations or perceptions of our emotions, and there's a fine line where romanticization should be seen in a negative light. If we apply this concept into every single aspect of our high school experience, we do promote its beneficial effects, but we also encourage every bad moment that comes along with it. You see, I remember watching this show called Gilmore Girls, and in one episode, the main character, Rory, is seen with her textbooks sprawled across a table, and it is way too early in the morning for her to even be awake. And her mother comes up to her and tells her that she needs to sleep because it's what keeps her pretty. And she responds by saying, "Well, who cares if I'm pretty if I fail my finals?" Now, this quote has become so popular within social media because it instantly glorifies this idea around staying up and studying all night long. But the problem with this is that it doesn't truly depict what it's like to experience those nights of frustration. Trust me, I know what it's like to be in that situation of cramming the night before a final. You know, it was full of tears and exasperation. But rather than facing those feelings that I had head on, I thought back to this quote. And it almost influenced me to believe that I was having this main character moment. Now, suddenly in our society, this has become so normalized just because something was aesthetic in a book or a movie or a show. We create this false sense of reality by pushing aside our feelings because it's easier to deal with a situation when we see it in a romanticized way. You see, sometimes we can romanticize things or even people, and we don't even realize we're doing it. Like when we glorify a moment and make it more positive than it actually is, we lose the true meaning of what it is to live in the moment. Now, I understand that certain things can feel really difficult and heavy on you. We're all human and we all want to feel better about ourselves, and that is why we resort to romanticization. It provides us with a blanket over our true feelings, so we don't have to deal with them within that exact moment. That is when we create this shift from living in reality, living in the moment, and into a much more distorted version of it. And I believe this is where we should pay more close attention to romanticization. And here's a couple reasons why. It is so important for you to be able to process your emotions. Especially during adolescence, it's really pivotal for us because it helps us develop a certain emotional maturity that really aids us in the future. And when we romanticize, we avoid our feelings, therefore we aren't truly processing them. I want you to think about it like this. When you were a kid and you didn't want to eat your vegetables, you pushed them off to the side of the plate. You continued to eat the rest of your dinner and completely disregarded the vegetables, obviously. And whether you noticed or not, they were still there. And then eventually, of course, your mom's gonna come up to you and tell you to eat your vegetables. So whether you wanted to or not, you had to deal with them eventually. Just like romanticization, it provides you with a temporary solution. But eventually, all of those feelings and emotions that you bottle inside are bound to come out, and you have to deal with them once that effect of romanticization wears off. Another reason we should pay close attention to this is because I want to be able to remember everything from these very few years of my high school experience, and I think that you should too. Now, whether you are an adult or a teen out in the audience, I'm sure you've heard something like the phrase, high school is gonna be the best years of your life. Now, as a student nearing the end of my grade 11 year, I think back to everything I've experienced so far. There have been smiles and laughter, but also tears and frustration. But when I think to the future, I wonder, aren't all of those things going to be what shape the person that I become? We learn the importance of respect, hard work, control through frustrating situations. And the moment that we romanticize that, we entirely disregard the potential to learn those important life lessons. We also won't be remembering high school for what it truly was, but rather we will recall an extremely over-romanticized version of it. So now, you may be wondering what there is that you can do to avoid this. And in all honesty, I can't give you a straight answer. Romanticization is so dependent on the circumstance that you use it in. It is your situations and your emotions that must be considered, and only you can tell yourself when you have crossed that fine line. I do want to give you all some food for thought. So sometime today, I want you to take a moment to yourself and think about a time where you may have romanticized something in your life. Recall the things I have mentioned today and really think if there has been a moment where romanticization has stripped a true feeling or experience away from you, and try to envision that moment for what it truly was. So, the next time that you find yourself reaching for your main character moment, and you are sitting in that field of flowers, I hope you take a step back, live in the moment, and remember, you will always be the main character of your own story. Thank you.